Shocker! I made a game! It's a puzzle platformer inspired by the Fireboy and Water Girl web game series. This game follows the story of Subject 10111001, name unknown, who has been trapped in a lab capsule until it shatters, and your goal is to help them escape and perhaps find out more about themselves. The controls and game mechanics are explained as you progress through the game, but the core ones are the WAD keys to jump and move left or right, the E key to interact with objects or items, the number 1 and 2 keys to access items in inventory, and the mouse left click to cut down obstacles and to interact with the GUI. As you progress through the levels, the maps get increasingly more difficult, with more wires or obstacles to cut and the addition of the shock block. And while there are no power-ups in the physical sense to help balance the scale of the challenge, all the tools you need are given to you at the start, and as you progress and get used to the mechanics, the game will seem easier. I've also implemented a load-up system, where you have the option to load certain save points after playing and unlocking the level. You can also see your best time for completing each level. Now, without further ado, let's start. Where am I? Who am I? I need to get out of here. Maybe those notes scattered around have more info. As mentioned on the info panel, you have the option of picking up the scattered notes to read for more background lore, but they don't do much except add to your stats, which you can access from the menu. And while I'm here, I'll show that you can exit a level at any time and simply load into it again later. And since this has a cutscene attached to it, you also have the option to skip it. Being the intro level, there's not much to it. It's mostly to introduce some key mechanics and to give you the tool that you need to progress through the rest of the game. If you're rebellious and don't pick up the conveniently placed scalpel, you are barred from continuing, even if you have the key. Also, quick note if you haven't already noticed, there are different animation sequences for holding the different items and for the different states of the character. Very cool. Moving on to the actual levels. Immediately, we see why we need to pick up the scalpel. And we're introduced to the gates and levers. Of course, we'll also need to get the key. I won't linger too long on the notes. If you're curious on the full story of this game, let me know, chat with me. Since this was a short school project, I had to cut out or squish a lot of the story, so if it feels rushed, that's why. In the next level, we get introduced to the shock block. And for demonstration purposes, I shall now purposely fall into a hole. So that resets all your progress with the wires, levers, and the key, because I just love games that set you back once you die. And there's no right way to finish this level, and you can always choose to take a risk. I did that on purpose, but I'll be finishing the level in the way I know how. This should be easy for me because I've played this many times. Now enter the boss fight. Though we don't actually get to physically fight the boss because I ran out of time. Useless, blah blah blah, bunch of useless. They're all useless! How could they let this happen? Those buffoons! I told them to fix the wires, I warned them! No, it can't end like this. You, how are you? Ugh, stupid wires! Thought you could escape in all this mess, huh? You weren't supposed to be disposed this early, but I guess I can make an exception. And now we run. This final level is a culmination of everything in the previous levels, plus the addition of the scary laser chasing you. And as you can see on the top right corner, you have 4 lives. And And if you lose all of them, well, you fail to escape. And now for demonstration purposes, I shall fail. Evil laughter. What did you think would happen? You're just a child. How pitiful. Okay, so now that all the levels are unlocked, I can load whichever I want to try again, either to improve the time, or, you know, if you want to see that gorgeous death animation without any consequences, you can just... Isn't it so pretty? But of course, we have to load the boss fight again. This time, to win it. So you've made it this far. You know, I never meant for it to go this way. And then sob story, sob story. Oh. And that's it. Funny thing, I actually added the running timer after the project was over because I ran out of time to do it for real. But yeah, I'm really proud of what I accomplished. All the graphics, aside from the boxes and lines of the GUI that were made by processing shape methods, were created by yours truly with Krita. I drew the main pixel character based off the way Amori drew their sprites. The boss was inspired by Eggman from Sonic, and the background was based off of Pinterest sci-fi building landscapes. I literally took landscapes I liked, collaged and overlaid them, and then roughly traced them to get the shapes I wanted. As for the sound effects were all taken from Pixabase's free library, and the 3 awesome music tracks were all from Deburucci's 8-bit fantasy and adventure music album, which I will link down below because it was a lifesaver. And thanks for watching! If you've ever thought about making a game, take this as a sign to take your first steps towards that. Always let your imagination run wild! Well, not too wild.